I barely know where to start in recapping the League Two weekend. There are 4 or 5 potential doors that we could open first and foremost. Let's keep it simple. For what was one of the best League Two weekends in memory, we will start at the top with the biggest winners of the week, with Port Vale, George, beating Bromley by 5-0. They are 3 clear now at the top. They are 5 clear of 4th. They have timed their run brilliantly 1 month ago today, right, as we record. The table had Walsall at the top with 69, Bradford second 66, Donny on 62, Notts on 61, Wimbledon on 60 and Vale on 58, 9 off the top 1 month ago today. Since then, they've got 18 points, 9 more than Doncaster, 9 more than Wimbledon, 11 more than Bradford and Notts, and 14 more than Walsall. Not just in 1 month, George, but probably the most important month of the season.
Yeah, albeit with 4 games left to go. So let's not promote them yet. But yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible run, and not one that many saw coming when Walsall beat them in that top of the table clash, and then they went on that poor run of form. It kind of found that knocked the stuffing out of them. But this is a reminder that seasons go on for quite a long time, and just
we know it.
Sticking around and timing your run late is, can be so effective. They took on a Bromley side here who have very little to play for, and they brushed them aside with absolute ease. Great to see Laurent Talai, who continues to kind of improve in front of our eyes. I think he is surely one of the best players in the division, scoring 2. Byers, who came off the bench with 1. Shorrock got them off to a flyer early on in the game. And yes, they scored 5 of their 9 shots in the game. The XG was 1.5. The scoreline might flatter them a little bit, but the way they were able to create the chances with ease against this Bromley side, and the fact that it's just another good result amidst so many good results, suggests to me that they have to be the likeliest to go on and win the league now. Their fixtures are quite interesting. They travel to Carlisle on Good Friday, so probably some frustration there, I guess, that as we'll get onto in a second, Carlisle season, it's very much alive again, when it could have died on Saturday. They host Grimsby after that, and it seems pretty obvious that's going to be an absolutely titanic game for Grimsby, regardless of their result on Good Friday. And then they finish up with AFC Wimbledon away from home, who, again, you'd think that's likely to be a pretty big game for them, and then home to the resurgent Gillingham under Gareth Ainsworth. So the fixtures, I'd say there's some banana skins in there, but they put themselves in an unbelievably dominant position to go forward and not just win promotion but win the league. And if you'd told Port Vale fans what was going to happen on Saturday, not only would they win 5-0, but just they couldn't have chosen for the games of the teams beneath them to go better for them, not just in terms of the results, but also suspensions to key players, as we'll get onto. It puts them in a really, really strong position now. It would be an almighty surprise from here if Port Vale aren't one of the 3 come the 3rd of May.
Yeah, it's like they're watching their own team win 5-0 against Bromley, blinkers on. It's kind of, as if they're in the cinema theatre, if you like. And then they walk out, their eyes are still kind of adjusting to what's going on the outside, what's gone on around them, and the whole world's on fire. Like the whole world is in flames. That was League Two, outside of or the top of League Two anyway, outside of Port Vale 5, Bromley 0, Swindon 5, Bradford 4. Instantly goes into the top 3 games of the season. I'll try and whiz through it chronologically, and then I think there's a few things to go through. 9 goals in the game, 2 of them were own goals, including the winner in injury time. A red card. Kavanagh had put had put Bradford ahead and put them 2-0 up when Swindon got one back through an own goal from Byrne, turning in a cross from the left. Then Richie Smallwood, the Bradford captain, who's played, if not every single minute this season, almost every single minute this season, flew into a challenge, one of them modern ones where you know you're going to get the ball first, or you're very likely to get first contact on the ball in a 50-50 or in a duel, but you decide to go in so hard and so aggressively with so much power that you fly through and absolutely clobber the opposition player as well. And those are red cards, I'm afraid. Excessive force and whatnot, dangerous play. Smallwood goes off. Kavanagh puts Bradford 3-1 up. Almost identical goals that he scored. Some of the worst penalty box defending I've seen this season from Swindon. He almost scored a fourth with the exact same chance once again. Just like long throws into the box, no defenders heading them away, and Kavanagh just stabbing them in. At the end of the first half, Shimanga made it 3-2 for Swindon. Then it was 3-3 after Harry Smith scored. Good work from the youngster Amin. Halliday put Bradford ahead again, 4-3 up now, the team with 10 men after a good counter-attack. And then, with Swindon piling on the pressure, as you'd expect, Cox, who's a great crosser of the ball, the left-back, crossing one into big Harry Smith, who headed it into the top corner in the 90th minute. Still time for more attacks. Freckleton, who had passed the ball out to Cox to get Cox to cross it. Cox was like, no, I haven't got the angle for this. Back to Freckleton, who turned in not a particularly good cross, or at least the technique wasn't great. The outcome was sensational. Turned in by Bradford centre-back Shepherd into his own net. 5-4 to Swindon, for whom this is just fun and games now. This is just the end of a season that started really badly and has got progressively more fun under a very fun manager in Ian Holloway, with some quite fun players as well. They're just revelling in the fun of it all, George. For Bradford City, this is both serious and not fun.
No, not at all. And to be in such a commanding position away from home, to be 2-0 up early, and for your captain to put in that, it's just a ridiculous tackle to make. And it's damaging for so many reasons, because, again, they were 4-3 up going into injury time and managed to lose the game. They've lost Richie Smallwood, who's been possibly their player of the season and is obviously should be so influential. He's now out for the next 3 games. They are, to an extent, aided by what happened elsewhere. With neither Donny or AFC Wimbledon winning at the same time, with Walsall losing. But this was just an incredible opportunity to put themselves kind of with Port Vale in such a commanding position. But instead, not only have they squandered that opportunity, but you think there's going to be some scarring off the back of this as well. And, it's going to mean that the doubts set in and the nerves set in too. I just couldn't really believe that they, to be in such a commanding position, albeit against a very dangerous opposition. And especially with, they've got a trip to Donny coming in on penultimate day. They host Notts County on Thursday this week. So they play before everyone else, which I think is a good thing for them. It gives them an opportunity to take the initiative and take it out of the hands of those trying to chase them down and put the pressure on them, especially at home. And we know that their home form, having been relatively poor for so long, is so good. They've won every single game at home since mid-December, apart from one, which is a 1-0 defeat against Tranmere, thanks to a smash and grab win for Tranmere that day, thanks to a penalty. So, it's all eyes on Thursday now for a game that, again, Notts County really, really need to get something out of after their result.
And Smallwood's a really important player for them in quite a few ways.
Yeah.
They just don't really have anyone else like him. I'm looking at the squad being like, who's going to fill in the quarterback role, the kind of single pivot, standing in front of the back three, average passes per game for Bradford, Smallwood 50. The next is Baldwin, who's a ball-playing centre-back with 41. Then Shepherd, centre-back, 38. Then Halliday, the right wing-back, 35. Byrne, 29. So, someone, whether it's maybe Brandon Keller, who's been playing, broadly as a kind of number 6, but is much more of a box-to-box player rather than a fixed kind of ball progressor. Maybe him. Maybe he asks Sarcevic to do a job just because he's so experienced. I really don't know, but it's pretty damaging, you would think. What do we make of own goal scored by Shepherd, pretty much last kick of the game, 5-4 win in a topsy-turvy game full of passion and emotion and every single thing that we want to see in an EFL football match? What do we think of 4 Swindon players celebrating in the face of the guy prone on the ground who's just scored an own goal to lose his team the game, to win the team for the opposition? Instead of wheeling off together to the corner, celebrate with the fans, 4 of them, notably including Harry Smith, who does this pretty much every week, screaming in his face, basically goading and gloating. What do you make of this? I must admit, I'm really, really torn.
So I would normally always be on the side of more laryness and more passion and more, like I'm all in favour of players giving it back to fans when fans have a pop at them. I'm all in favour of ridiculous celebrations, goading opposition fans and the like. Maybe my inherent bias here comes into it because I'm an Oxford fan, and even though I think I've got quite good at covering Swindon without any bias, I'm also not going to lie and pretend that I don't feel the rivalry quite aggressively. But I think it's pretty bad, isn't it? Like, it just seems there's not a great deal on the line for Swindon here, apart from the 3 points, and apart from basically really hurting their opponent's promotion bid. And if there was any needle leading into it, then I would understand it more. And I think there may be some suggestion that there was between Smith. But yeah, it just seems a bit unnecessary, maybe.
Well, that was the thing. I can't remember the exact wording of what Smith said as I pull up the Swindon Advertiser website. He said something like, what happened after is in the heat of the moment. Back at some of the images, it's not something you're proud of, but things happen in games. People don't see the bigger picture. Things happened in the game which probably warrant why we have celebrated like we did. I'm not going to go into what that was, but we didn't just do it randomly.
I love that.
Things happened all game.
I can't tell you what it is, but yeah, things happened.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not my fault because they did something and then I just had to do that. But I can't, there's a part of me that wants to sit on my high horse and go like, it just doesn't feel quite right, this, and it feels just slightly over the top and poor sportsmanship. But the only thing I love more than talking about football is playing football, and I've played a lot of football in my life, and my character and personality on the pitch is not always something that I would be proud of in the cold light of day. And in particular, I've played more games than I can think of in my life, either 11-a-side or 6-a-side or 5-a-side, where it's everything that this game was: really tense, really tight, aggressive, mostly in the right way, not always in the right way, really competitive, angry words. That sort of stuff does happen. So I absolutely, without knowing the specifics, I can imagine exactly what it was like on the pitch. And can I be sure that I haven't been part of a team that has scored a late winner and rubbed it in an opposition that I really hated's face? No, I'm pretty confident I have done that. So I can't really get too upset about it. With Smith, there's just that thing of and again, this is maybe a personal problem of mine. I always think that in life, in general, the shorter guys tend to be more aggressive, and then the bigger guys slightly less aggressive, and that kind of balances out the natural physical imbalance between those two sets of people, right? And I always think that when there's a big guy, Harry Smith, but pretty much the biggest guy in the league, who's also the most aggressive, probably has the most red cards for violent conduct, biggest shithouse, I'm not sure that I feel like something's gone slightly wrong there. Like he should have to tone it down a bit. And when I see him, this is probably the 4th time I've seen him celebrate in a defender's face in the last 2 months. And it just makes me think, well, he just knows that no one's going to lamp him because he's the biggest guy. And I don't think most people could get away with acting like that, but he can because he's so big. There you go. This is not the sort of analysis that you normally come listen to the pod for, but I find this stuff interesting. And I'm probably talking out my arse anyway. Doncaster Wimbledon was a massive game, and it was drawn, but it was pretty entertaining as well. Loads of incident in this one. Ali Smith stabbed Wimbledon ahead. Another good late run into the box from him. Really valuable goals from midfield he offers. Wimbledon then had their captain sent off, just like Bradford, in the first half for a lunge, for a violent play, excessive force. Jake Reeves just catching a Donny player with studs on the thigh. Pretty sure he was trying to waft at the ball or stab at the ball, which flew past him, and instead it just looked terrible. It was a red card. It wasn't very helpful because Donny then put the pressure on, got level through deflected Jamie Sterry strike, and then at 1-1 Billy Sharp came on and
not for long.
Yeah, weird. Sort of deflected cross that ran out for a corner. Sharp and Lewis were kind of challenging each other for it, and the ball went out. And Lewis just gave Sharp a little push, and Sharp just turned around and just sort of headbutted Lewis's back, which is quite a strange thing to do. He'd been on for less than a minute. He got sent off. 10v10. Thought Wimbledon were better than Donny 10v10. I was really unimpressed with Doncaster, who I felt probably should have the ascendancy as they're the home team and the one that had equalised. Instead, it was Wimbledon, I thought, who were much better at managing that situation. And Lewis almost scored an amazing goal on the break, galloping forward from the back. I think if James Tilley's delivery had been better, then Wimbledon may have won it. It just makes me think Donny is such a weird team. Like, we know they've got pretty much the best numbers in the league over the course of the season. They still haven't beaten a top half team at home, which is such a bizarre quirk. Is it a mentality thing? Is it a tactics thing? And maybe a mixture of both. But they've got a game in hand on Tuesday against Salford, and if they win, then they'll be second. But it's also a big game for Salford too, so there's no guarantee of a walkover. Really, just not sure about Donny at the moment. The good thing is, I could say that about basically every team in the league, apart from maybe Port Vale. For Wimbledon, a decent point, I think, and they'll have to hope that Salford get something in midweek, keep their automatic promotion dreams alive. They also will be hoping that Vale win both their Easter weekend games and secure promotion ahead of their penultimate game of the season. George also dropping points, not just dropping points again, but losing at Walsall. They went to Barrow, they lost 2-0, possibly their worst performance of the season.
Yeah, they were really poor. Matt Sadler called on his Walsall side to prove the doubters wrong, and they did not do that. I've been defending their performances in the last couple of weeks. They've had difficult games. They've come away empty-handed from games where they've been okay. They've got drawn games where maybe they've deserved to win. They've shown some character coming back from behind against Donny twice, against AFC Wimbledon. But here, they were poor. And, again in midweek in the betting show, I mentioned that this was a much harder game than it looked. Barrow under Andy Wing are maybe one of the best teams in the league, actually, frankly. Like, in terms of the points they've picked up and their underlying numbers, it all stacks up. They're one of the top 5 or 6 teams in this division right now. And therefore, for Walsall to go there was always going to be difficult. But, talking about teams putting distance between them and the opposition, it was just one-way traffic in the first half. Walsall couldn't really mount any kind of a challenge, and Ellis Harrison probably had Walsall's best chance at the end of the first half, which he headed wide. It would have been wholly undeserved had he scored it. And then Aqua made the point safe late on. It was Presley who scored the first goal. Really bad from Walsall. Maybe, I kind of thought that having got through that difficult spell, we were going to see them kind of kick on again. But they're now winless in their last 4 away from home, where they were so strong early on in the campaign. Again, their fixtures now do get easier. They host Harrogate next up on Good Friday. They go to Newport on Monday. They host Accrington on Saturday, and they go to Crewe. Again, it wouldn't be a surprise at all to see them pick up a decent point haul from those 4 games, but I have far less faith in them being able to do so after Saturday than I did beforehand. But yeah, Barrow, just got to give Andy Wing huge credit. I think he's doing a really, really impressive job for a guy who's never managed in the EFL before. Obviously did a very good job with Solihull previously. This is the stage of the season where you start looking at teams with an eye on next season as to who could be ones to look out for, who could be managers to look out for. And there's a big flashing Barrow light everywhere I look at the moment in League 2.
Really great mates, went to school together, Andy Wing and Matt Sadler, just like us.
Really?
How nice is that?
Is Matt Sadler also a massive Villa fan?
Not for me to say, because I don't know. But I guess there's every chance. Wait, is he not a Blues? Is he not Blues? I think he might be Blues.
Wingy?
Sadler. Certainly played for.
Well, that's interesting. There you go.
Wing's quote after the game when he was asked about it, he just told me I am a rubbish best friend.
Amazing.
And then he does exactly what you would do for your mate. He goes, I will take it. And I'm not sure about their crowd booing halfway through the first half. They are in the top 3 and need to get behind the team. It's ridiculous the stick he gets sometimes. That genuinely made me well up. That is just such French friend behaviour. You don't care if you're maybe missing some context. You don't even care if you're wrong. You are showing support for your mate, and that is absolute class. And I've had to do it with you a million times when you've been spouting nonsense. No, kidding. Thursday night saw Crewe host Cheltenham on TV. A win would have put them, 2 points off the playoffs after all the results of the weekend. Cheltenham had lost 4 in a row. It was a big chance for Crewe, and they lost 3-2. And it's just continuation of a really poor month or two. Slide out the top 7 and now in 11th place. Cheltenham won and they deserved it. George Miller, Jordan Thomas, Liam Dulson scoring for them, a Hemmings penalty, and Aegius consolation in injury time for Crewe. 11th is a great disappointment, absolutely no doubt about that. It's one of those ones where it's not just where you finish in the table and the points tally, but it's the trajectory of the team. In Crewe's case, the story of their season is that they started off pretty well. It looked like they were going to replicate what they did last season, and then they slid down, and that's in a way worse than starting averagely and then coming on strong and just missing out in certain ways. The knives are out for Lee Bell from what I've seen. Crewe fans on socials. Style of play is being cited as a key issue among others. I think that you can kind of, there's probably an interesting discussion to have about Crewe's style of play. I think that my kind of broad stance is that style of play is whatever the style is, it's pretty good and fun if your team are winning and scoring goals, and it's pretty bad and not fun if the team aren't. But that's certainly being held up as an issue. And it's worth remembering that from September till end of Jan, which is 3 or 4 months, they were second best team in the league, second most points over a large time period behind Walsall. But this is something that happened last season as well. They didn't make the playoffs, but they ended the season really poorly results-wise, the regular season. I think overall I'm pretty sympathetic to Bell. Probably won't surprise people because I think that managers generally deserve longer than they're often given. I think the squad composition is a big factor here. This is a pretty small Crewe squad with injury-prone senior players and then kids and loanees. And that's pretty normal for Crewe. That's how their squads have mostly been built as long as I can remember. But when you have the likes of Long and Hemmings and Bogle, your 3 senior attackers, barely contributing at all through injury or poor performance. Thomas and Powell, who would have been 2 of the starting midfielders for most games this season, barely contributing at all due to long-term injuries. How can you fault the manager? Those are likely 5 of the highest paid players as well. So it's just wasted budget on the sidelines through, how much fault do you attribute to the manager there? I don't really know when it comes to injuries. I would say that he's brought on Joel Taberner, Mattis Holacek, Zach Williams are all having best seasons of their career so far, aged 20 or 21 years old, and that's important for Crewe. And I would imagine that the League Two budget table, if we could ever see it, not that we can, and any website that professes to know live wage budgets is lying. I think that would have Crewe well below their current league position of 11th. And you add to the fact that this is the lowest they've been in 2 seasons under Bell. I really hope the club don't sack him. And I hope that everyone can grit their teeth and get through a disappointing end to the season. Accrington 3, Tranmere 3, George. Maybe the best game.
It's a match that happened, wasn't it? Just a draw, move on.
Unbelievable.
It's also such a weird match where it's like 2 teams sitting in the 2 places above the relegation zone, basically knowing that they're probably safe, but also whoever wins will be safe and whoever loses definitely isn't quite safe yet, and a draw it kind of is okay for both, but is obviously much better for the team that comes back from 3-0 down to draw 3-3, who are already above the other one before the game started. Accrington raced into a 3-goal lead here, and at that point looked like they were going to pretty much end their own relegation fears, albeit their game. The shocker for Accrington is that they've still got to play Carlisle, which is a massive, massive blow in my mind, even though it's at home. To win this game would have meant that they'd have overtaken Tranmere again, that have put themselves in a commanding position, and to race into a 3-goal lead was so impressive and suggested of a certain performance level. The pick of the bunch, the goal from Woods within a minute, just hammering into the bottom right hand corner, catching Tranmere unawares for Walton and Woods, the other Woods. It was Josh with the third and Ben with the first. And then, so you've got 12 minutes to go of normal time, and Tranmere are 3-0 down, firing towards their own fans who made the short journey to Accrington, so shooting to the goal in front of their fans. And then Amari Patrick scores a really nicely taken free kick into the top corner. Hope. Then Christian Dennis, not a player that you necessarily would associate with scoring screamers, gets on the ball in open play in a similar position and rifles the ball into that top right-hand corner to make it 3-2. The board goes up. I don't know how many minutes we're on the board, but we get into 90 plus 11. And the ball is worked down the left-hand side. It's recycled back to Amari Patrick, who scored the goal to make it 3-1. And he fires just an unbelievable strike, the pick of the bunch. Like, just for the fans behind the goal, to see 3 shots taken with a combined range of 90 yards?
They were all within about 2 yards of each other. The Flop Mob shot map is unbelievably hilarious.
The first going top left, and the next 2 both going top right. Like, I just can't imagine what that must have been like. And we kind of see it because the scenes, the final, all the scenes when that goal goes in, are absolutely extraordinary. Like, it feels like no one in the terrace is standing.
Yeah, George, have you been in the away end at Accrington with yellows?
Never. I would love to have done.
Because I really wanted to know from someone who's experienced it. Like, my perception is, and I'm not the oracle on this, but my perception is that it's like a top 3 away end for the potential for limbs, and they got to live it in the right. If that had been in Milton Keynes, it wouldn't have hit the same. For sure,
it looks like basically the ideal place to experience what they experienced. And yeah, just crazy scenes at the final whistle. And as I say, it feels like a really important point. I think often points can be over-celebrated, the significance of them, because it's more the relief of not losing rather than the actual point itself. Whereas here, because it means that Tranmere stay ahead of Accrington, and because it means that Accrington lose ground on Carlisle after their win against Morecambe, with Carlisle still to play, it could be such a damaging defeat to Accrington. And also, there's the mental side of it as well, where they're going to have to pick themselves up, and I don't really know how you do that, especially because they did nothing wrong. They just conceded 3 goals. You probably only budget to concede that goal how many times a season?
Yeah.
5?
Yeah, 3.
You conceded 3 in 20 minutes.
Absolutely unbelievable and significant as well, not just because they were playing against each other. They were the 2 teams directly above the relegation zone. There's only 1 point between them. But also because the 2 teams beneath them who are trying to catch them were playing against each other. So they knew that it would be likely one of the teams out of Morecambe and Carlisle would get 3 points. It was the away side, Carlisle, George. They beat Morecambe 2-0.
Yes. Again, just a huge win for Carlisle in a game where, certainly for them, given they came into the game behind Morecambe, they'd have known that a defeat here would have spelled the end, really. But having beaten Newport and come from behind from 2-0 down, again, where they were staring down the barrel of relegation, to come back from behind and win that and then win this, pick up 6 points from their 2 games is mightily impressive. They're the better team in the first half, and were deserving of the goal when George Kelly headed them in front. Terrell Thomas made it 2 halfway through the second half. Kind of some nervy moments as they looked to defend the lead. Morecambe weren't terrible and had their own chances, but weren't able to finish them. And yeah, to go away from home and win the game 2-0, it's all about this. Firstly, they host top of the league, Port Vale, and that is so tough to come off the back of these 2 wins, then be thrust with not only the best team in the league, but also the team who are probably most informed in the league at the same time. Especially because they've got that tantalising trip to Accrington afterwards, where they just have to be in touching distance. And if they can, if they can get anything out of that Port Vale game, you have to think that's going to be the case. It's, from a neutral's perspective, who loves the League 2 relegation race, which I'm guessing is basically everyone who's still listening to this podcast, I think we probably want Carlisle to get something against Port Vale on Good Friday, because that will both keep the relegation picture alive and it will also keep the title race very interesting.
And we're all sickos. Let's be honest about it. We're all a little bit weird, and that's fine.
Out of context, Ali Maxwell.
That should be celebrated. Harrogate 2, Grimsby 2 feels like quite a big fumble for the Mariners, who were perhaps distracted by Kieran Zinedine Green taking his iconic season to another stratosphere by latching onto a loose ball in his own half, 70 yards out, and absolutely pinging it perfectly with power and straightness over James Belshaw and into the net. We've been blessed with quite a few, own half goals this season, and this was maybe my favourite of the lot. He's just, I can't get enough of Green, because he did that assist that you saw in the flesh, didn't he, at Wimbledon, that was just like outside of the right foot from the left touchline. He's done numerous bits and bobs, and this is just incredible. Jason Daddy Svan Thorson put them 2-0 up at half-time, and it looked like they would cruise, solidify their playoff position, but they didn't. Harrogate, late goal from Ellis Taylor to pull one back, and then Grimsby dropping deeper and deeper, didn't defend their box very well. Own goal, Danny Rose, 2-2, damaging not least because down at Newport were hosting Colchester United, and it was 0-0, and the game hadn't had a huge amount in it. And if Grimsby were going to win and Colchester were going to draw, that'd be massive for Grimsby. They'd be, almost a lock for the playoffs. And instead, they dropped 2 points. Colchester add 2 points, turning a draw into a win thanks to set-piece goal. Fiacre Kelleher glancing home. Not the first big goal he's scored in the last month or two. Probably no surprise as well, Newport conceding a set play, given that they've done that the most of any team in League Two. And then Scully scoring on the break for Col U, which was amazingly Anthony Scully's first league goal since August 2022, so about 2.5 years. He's had such a tough time with injuries, and clearly his career, which looked like it had started really brightly with that spell at Lincoln City, he's had to drop down, and it'd be amazing to see him get back and get fit, and he could still have an impact on this League Two promotion picture, because Colchester now 1 point behind Grimsby with a vastly significant superior goal difference. It's all to play for, and these two games and the late drama within them was just part of this completely absurd League Two weekend. Salford and Chesterfield have to still be in the conversation, George. They both won. Chesterfield are 4 points behind Grimsby and 3 behind Col U. Salford are 1 point behind that, but they've got a game in hand in midweek against Doncaster. They went and beat Notts County at Notts on Friday night.
Yeah, they're back on a good streak again. 3 wins from their last 5, unbeaten in those 5, going away to Notts County and beating them 3-1. Kelly Namai was, again, as he has been recently, the star man, creator for the first and scorer of the second. Before McGoldrick scored midway through the second half. Garbutt making the point safe with I think it was deflected, or the keeper should have done better. I've watched so many goals. I'm kind of losing the thread after not much sleep last night. But either way, yeah, Salford pretty good performance on Friday night, and I kind of think it's maybe because of the way we think about Salford due to their famous owners, and because they've always been a team that we've anticipated would be in the top end of League Two. For the most part, since they've been in the EFL. But things have changed at Salford. Like Peter Lim, who was the man who had all the money, is no longer there. So the kind of the depth of the pockets of the owners has changed. And I think that's been reflected in the squad that used to be full of kind of high earners who are relatively old, who'd had quite a lot of experience higher up in the pyramid. We've now got a team full of young players, quite a lot of loanees.
I think Carl Robinson's doing Curtis Till, Hakeem Adelican. Yeah, I think these lads are just coming in for peanuts.
No, and certainly not in Adelican's case, where it seemed, I think it's quite well known that some were put off after his exploits last year by how much money that he wanted. But I think Carl Robinson's doing
very fair. Yeah,
is doing a very good job. I mean, to have this group performing in the way that they are and have them on the brink of the playoffs, and as we've spoken about a few times, he will be relishing this, and he will absolutely be up for the the fact that they've got Donny in midweek. It wouldn't surprise me if they continue to upset those above them and find a way to get something out of that game too. And
once again, I just cannot end Chesterfield's season. They beat Fleetwood 3-0, did the damage in the second half with Colclough and Palmer and Madden scoring. And they've got players returning now. Chesterfield for large swathes of the season have been missing, a dozen senior players. And now lots of them are returned. You're seeing that front line of Grigg up top with Dobra in the 10, Colclough and Olakigbe out wide. You've got Dylan Duffy on the bench, Bim Pebble off the bench, Paddy Madden off the bench as well. John Fleck and Metcalf are playing in midfield, but Tom Naylor's on the bench. Ollie Banks is on the bench. Carl McFadden is back and playing at centre-back with Ash Palmer, who scored here. Gordon, the left-back, who I really rate really highly at this level, is back as well. Mandeville playing right-back too. So they're only 3 points off it. They've got loads of players back, so can we expect them to maybe be a bit better, a bit more tooled up than they have been over the last few months? Maybe. It's going to be fairly elementary, I think, because Easter weekend, Wimbledon and then Bradford for Chesterfield, 2 teams above them in the table. If they're going to make the playoffs, they need to pick up, you'd think, at least 4 points from those games. Then they've got Morecambe and then Accrington to finish, where you'd really back them to pick up 6 points. So pretty interesting from a Chesterfield point of view. Could be all done by next Tuesday, but I've been trying to kill them off all month, and it's not really gone very well. Gills beat MK 1-0. They were on for a 7th straight draw in a row until Bradley Dack scored in injury time. Good start for Gareth Ainsworth. 4 draws to start, including 3 away, and now this win against MK Don. So the fans have had a big moment to celebrate. Obviously a big one for Bradley Dack as well, who's, the return of the prodigal son has not gone that well on the pitch in terms of goals, but this was a reminiscent of Dack in his prime, sniffing and finishing at the back stick. So what a week in League Two. It's been an absolute bumper Monday pod. I hope you don't mind that. I hope you've enjoyed it, because we really, really have, and that's what it's all about. We are so passionate about providing as full a coverage of these leagues as we can. We could do an hour on every league every week, and we don't, and maybe we should, but we still think that we'd do more than anyone else. We hope that you enjoy it. We hope that you appreciate Not the Top 20 Monday pod, NTT20.com, the betting show, where we had maybe our best week of the season in terms of some big winners as well. And if the answer to all that is yes, I do enjoy it, try and come to Sheffield on the 5th of July. George and I will be playing a live show, like we're a headliner at Glastonbury.
What instrument?
We'll be playing a show. I'll be on the cymbal. George will be on the trumpet. We'll be playing The Crucible as part of the Crossed Wires Podcast Festival. You can buy a ticket for our show, and we would absolutely love to see you. We'd love to put on a really good show for you, and we will do that, and more details will come out in due course. And we'd love to basically paint Sheffield red and or blue afterwards with you, because we've got some pretty big plans for post-show. So crossedwires.live is where you can find tickets. Buy a ticket if you're up for it, if you're free. You can get to Sheffield from any train station in the country, and indeed, I guess, the world. And
I don't think that's true.
You should come and join us. Let us know if you've bought a ticket so we can get excited together. Cheers for listening. Thank you, and go well.